It's a quiet Tuesday evening in Barcelona. Lionel Messi sits in his living room, scrolling through his phone after another grueling training session. Outside, fans still gather hoping for a glimpse of their hero. Inside, the world's greatest footballer has no idea that thousands of miles away, a single document is about to change everything. Because buried deep in a massive leak of financial records lies a secret that will shake the very foundations of his carefully crafted image. Most people think they know Lionel Messi, the shy kid from Argentina who conquered European football, the magician with the ball at his feet, the humble superstar who lets his talent do the talking. But what if everything you thought you knew was just the surface? What if, behind that quiet demeanor lay a web of hidden companies, secret accounts, and financial arrangements that would make your head spin? Tonight, we're diving into one of the most explosive financial scandals in sports history. A leak so massive it exposed world leaders, celebrities, and yes, your favorite footballer. This isn't just about money. This isn't just about taxes. This is about how the ultra-wealthy play by completely different rules than the rest of us. And by the end of this story, you'll understand exactly how deep the rabbit hole goes. But first, let me paint you a picture. It's 2016, and football is bigger than ever. Transfer fees are hitting ridiculous numbers. Players are earning more in a week than most people make in a decade. And at the center of it all sits Barcelona, home to the most expensive squad in world football. Their star player, Lionel Messi, is pulling in a salary that would make your eyes water. Officially, he's earning around 30 million euros per year. But that's just what we can see. Because here's the thing about modern football finances. What you see on the surface is never the whole story. Behind every major player, there's an army of lawyers, accountants, and financial advisors working around the clock to maximize earnings and minimize taxes. They create structures so complex that even experienced investigators struggle to follow the money trail. Shell companies and tax havens, image rights deals routed through multiple countries, sponsorship arrangements that exist only on paper. For years, the system worked perfectly. Players got richer, agents took their cuts, and governments struggled to keep up with increasingly sophisticated tax avoidance schemes. The whole machine hummed along quietly in the background while fans focused on what happened on the pitch. Nobody asked too many questions about how their heroes managed their millions. But somewhere in the shadows, someone was watching. Someone with access to information that was never meant to see daylight. Someone who would soon turn the football world upside down with a single leak that changed everything. The leak didn't start with football. It started with a law firm most people had never heard of, located in a country many couldn't find on a map. This firm specialized in helping wealthy clients move money around the world without attracting unwanted attention. They created companies that existed only on paper. They opened accounts in countries with strict secrecy laws. They built financial structures so complex that tracing the money became nearly impossible. For decades, this worked perfectly. Clients paid their fees, received their services, and everyone stayed quiet. The firm's computers held thousands of documents detailing exactly how the global elite hid their wealth. Client lists read like a who's who of world politics, entertainment, and yes, professional sports. But these files were supposed to remain locked away forever, protected by client privilege. Then, something by layers of security and attorney went wrong. Maybe it was a disgruntled employee. Maybe it was a sophisticated hacker. Maybe it was someone who simply couldn't stand watching the wealthy get away with financial schemes that regular people could never dream of accessing. Whatever the reason, someone decided that these secrets had been hidden long enough. The person responsible called themselves by a simple name that told you nothing about their real identity. They reached out to journalists through encrypted channels, promising information that would expose corruption at the highest levels. At first, nobody believed them. The claims seemed too big, too explosive to be real. But when the documents started flowing, it became clear that this wasn't a hoax or a publicity stunt. This was the real deal. Millions of files detailing exactly how the world's most powerful people manage their money. And buried somewhere in those millions of documents were files that would drag Lionel Messi into the biggest financial scandal of his career. The leak revealed something that fans never suspected. Messi wasn't just a footballer earning a salary. He was the center of a complex web of companies, deals, and financial arrangements that spanned multiple countries and involved millions of euros. Image rights companies and tax havens. Sponsorship deals routed through offshore entities. Financial structures that seemed designed for one purpose: keeping money away from tax authorities. But this story isn't just about one player or one leak. It's about a system that allows the wealthy to play by different rules while regular people pay their full share. It's about the moment when those hidden rules finally came to light, exposing not just individual wrongdoing, but an entire industry built on secrecy and tax avoidance. And when that system finally cracked open, the consequences were swift and brutal. Within hours of the first documents going public, phone lines at law firms across Europe were ringing non-stop. Crisis management teams scrambled to contain the damage. Public relations experts worked overtime crafting carefully worded statements. But for many of the names in those files, it was already too late. The Spanish tax authorities had been investigating Messi for years, but they'd always hit dead ends. Complex corporate structures made it nearly impossible to prove intent. Lawyers argued that their client had simply followed professional advice. But now, with internal documents spelling out exactly how the schemes worked, investigators finally had the smoking gun they needed. The documents revealed that Messi's image rights weren't just being managed offshore for convenience. They were being actively hidden from Spanish tax authorities through a network of companies that existed solely to avoid paying taxes in Spain. One company would license his image to another, which would then sublicense it to a third, each step moving the money further from Spanish oversight. But Messi wasn't operating in isolation. The leaked files exposed an entire ecosystem of players, agents, and advisors, all using similar schemes. Real Madrid stars, Barcelona teammates, Premier League superstars, everyone seemed to be playing the same game, just with different company names and different tax havens. The reaction from fans was immediate and visceral. Social media exploded with anger and disappointment. Here were players earning more money than entire towns, using sophisticated schemes to avoid paying their fair share. While ordinary citizens struggled with rising taxes and austerity measures, their sporting heroes were channeling millions through offshore companies designed to minimize their contributions to society. Spanish prosecutors moved quickly. Within weeks of the leak, formal charges were filed. Messi and his father were accused of defrauding the Spanish treasury of over 4 million euros between 2007 and 2009. But the leaked document suggested the schemes continued well beyond those years, potentially involving much larger sums. The legal arguments were complex, but the basic facts were simple. Money that should have been taxed in Spain was being routed through companies in Belize, Uruguay, and Switzerland. The savings were enormous, but the risks were finally catching up. Messi's defense team tried every angle they could think of. They argued he was too young to understand the financial arrangements. They claimed he simply signed papers his advisors put in front of him. They insisted that everything was legal under the laws of the countries where the companies were established. But Spanish law was clear. Residents of Spain owed taxes on their worldwide income, regardless of how creatively that income was structured. The case dragged on for months, dominating headlines across Europe. Every court appearance was front-page news. Every legal filing was dissected by experts on television. The quiet, private Messi suddenly found himself at the center of a media storm that threatened to overshadow everything he'd accomplished on the pitch. Behind the scenes, other investigations were ramping up. Tax authorities in multiple countries were poring over the leaked documents, looking for their own citizens who might have been using similar schemes. The leak had opened a Pandora's box that would take years to fully explore. In the end, the leak that exposed Messi's finances became about something much bigger than one footballer's tax affairs. It revealed how an entire system allows the ultra-wealthy to escape the rules that bind everyone else. While Messi eventually faced the courts and paid his penalties, the real story is how this leak changed everything. It showed us that behind every carefully crafted public image, there might be secrets worth millions waiting to be discovered.